Hyeon-woo Park stood at the observation deck and watched the stars. He had never seen so many different ships in one place. The space station called Harmony floated in empty space between 3 solar systems. It was neutral ground where aliens from across the galaxy could meet safely. Today was the day humans would join the Galactic Council. Hyeon-woo had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. He was Earth's chief ambassador, but before that, he had been a physicist. He understood the science behind everything humans had built. Now he had to prove that humans deserved a place among the stars. Soo Jin Kim walked up beside him. She was the cultural expert on his team. Her job was to show the aliens what human culture was like. She carried a small device that held thousands of human songs, paintings, poems, and stories. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. Hyeon-woo nodded. "We have come so far. Our rockets brought us to the moon. Our computers let us talk across the world in seconds. Our medicine can fix hearts and cure diseases that killed millions just 50 years ago. How can they not be impressed?" Behind them, Tae-ho Lee checked his notes one more time. He was their military advisor. His job was to explain how humans defended themselves and kept peace on Earth. Ji-won Choi sat nearby, going over technical data. She led Earth's technology development and knew every detail about human engineering. The meeting room was enormous. 12 different alien species had sent representatives. The room was designed so that each species could breathe and stay comfortable. Some areas were hot and dry. Others were cold and wet. Some had thick atmosphere, while others had thin air. Hyeon-woo had studied each species for months. The Velthari were tall and thin with large heads. They were known as the smartest species in the galaxy. Their technology was so advanced that they could travel between stars in just days. The Corvin Empire controlled dozens of worlds. Their ships could destroy entire planets. Other species were there too. The crystal-like Zephyrians, the gas-breathing Netherans, and 8 others. When the meeting began, Hyeon-woo felt nervous but excited. This was humanity's moment to shine. "Welcome, humans of Earth," said the Velthari representative. Its voice was cold and mechanical through the translator. "We are curious about your achievements." Hyeon-woo stood up and activated the holographic display. Images of human technology filled the air above the table. He showed them the International Space Station, the Mars colonies, nuclear power plants, and the latest fusion reactors. "We have learned to harness the power of atoms," Hyeon-woo said proudly. "We have built cities that float on the ocean and others deep underground. We have machines that can think and help us solve problems." The Velthari representative made a sound that the translator turned into laughter. "You burn chemicals to push your ships through space. How primitive. We have used quantum tunneling for transportation for over 1,000 years." The Corvin general leaned forward. His species looked like giant insects with thick armor. "Your weapons use gunpowder and metal bullets. Our youngest children play with energy weapons more advanced than your best military equipment." Other aliens began to speak up. The Zephyrians mocked human computers. "Silicon chips? We stopped using those before your species learned to make fire." The Netherans laughed at human medicine. "You still cut open bodies to fix them? How barbaric." Hyeon-woo felt his face turn red. Every achievement he showed them was met with laughter and insults. They called human engineering hitting rocks with bigger rocks. They said human space travel was like throwing stones very far. They made jokes about humans being too stupid to understand real science. Ji-won Choi tried to explain how humans had gone from horse-drawn carts to spaceflight in just 200 years. The aliens laughed harder. "So slow," they said. "It took use only 50 years to achieve the same progress." Tae-ho Lee showed them how humans had ended major wars and created peace treaties that lasted for decades. The Corvin general just snorted. Peace through weakness. Real species expand and conquer. You humans are too soft. By the end of the technology presentation, Haiyan Wu felt defeated. Everything humans had worked for seemed like children's toys. Compared to alien science, maybe they really were primitive. Maybe they did not belong among the stars. Then Soo Jin Kim stood up. May I share something about human culture? She asked quietly. The aliens looked bored, but they agreed. Soo Jin activated her device. The room filled with the sound of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The powerful music echoed through the chamber. She showed them paintings by human artists. Van Gogh's whirling stars, Picasso's strange faces, and modern digital art that moved and changed colors. The laughter stopped. Soo Jin read them a poem about love and loss. She showed them a video of human dancers moving like water and wind. She played a song that made some humans in the room cry with its beauty. She showed them sculptures that seemed impossible, defying gravity and logic. The aliens became very quiet. Some of them shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Velthari representative's large eyes grew even larger. The Corvin general's armor plates clicked nervously. This is what humans create when we are not building machines or fighting wars, Soo Jin said. We make art because we must. We tell stories because we need to share our dreams and fears. We sing because music lives in our hearts. She showed them human literature, stories of heroes and villains, tales of love and adventure, books that asked deep questions about life and death and meaning. She played jazz music that seemed to break all rules, then followed it with a simple folk song that told the story of a farmer who loved his land. The room was completely silent now. Several aliens had moved back in their chairs. The Velthari representative was making quick notes, but its hands were shaking. The crystal Zephyrians had dimmed their natural light. Even the proud Corvin general looked uncertain. Why do you create these things? Asked a small alien from a species Haiyan Wu did not recognize. Its voice was barely a whisper. Because we are human, Soo Jin answered simply. We create because we feel. We feel because we love and hate and hope and fear. Our emotions make us who we are. The meeting ended quickly after that. The aliens said they needed time to evaluate humanity's application to join the Galactic Council. They granted Earth probationary status, not quite a member, but not rejected either. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Haiyan Wu noticed something strange. The aliens who had laughed so loudly at human science now avoided eye contact. They spoke in whispers to each other. They kept looking at Soo Jin's device as if it might explode. On the ship ride home, Tae-ho Lee said what they were all thinking. They were not just uncomfortable with our art, they were afraid of it. Soo Jin nodded slowly. I think we learned something important today. They may have better technology than us, but we have something they do not understand. Something that scares them. Haiyan Wu looked out at the stars again. Humanity had not impressed the aliens with their science. But perhaps that was not the most important thing after all. Perhaps the thing that made humans special was not what they built, but what they felt. The real question was, what would the aliens do with that fear? 6 months after the meeting at Harmony Station, large alien ships arrived at Earth. They came bearing gifts. Min Ho-young stood in his laboratory at the Seoul Institute of Technology, staring at a cube of metal that should not exist. The Velthari had sent it as a gesture of friendship. The metal was lighter than aluminum, but stronger than diamond. It could conduct electricity perfectly and never got hot or cold. How is this possible? Min Ho asked his assistant. He had been Earth's best engineer for 10 years, But this alien material made no sense according to human science. The assistant shrugged. The Velthari said it is a basic building material. They use it for children's toys. Minho felt frustrated and amazed at the same time. Children's toys. This miracle metal that could revolutionize every machine on Earth was something alien. Children played with similar gifts arrived from other species. The Corvan Empire sent energy crystals that could power a city for a year. The Zephyrians gave humans a device that could turn any element into any other element. The Netherans shared technology that could create gravity or make it disappear. The message was clear. The aliens were being generous to their new little brothers in the galaxy. They were sharing their advanced technology with poor, primitive humans who could barely reach their own moon. But the aliens had made one mistake. They thought humans would simply copy their technology and be grateful. They expected humans to worship them as gods who brought fire to cave dwellers. Minho Yung was not the type to copy anything. He took the miracle metal apart, atom by atom. He studied how it was made and why it worked. He found that the Velthari had created it using a process that was incredibly wasteful. They used 1,000 times more energy than necessary because they had never thought to question their methods. Within 2 weeks, Minho had found a way to make the same metal using half the energy. Within a month, he had improved it. His version was even lighter and stronger. It could also change color and repair itself if it got damaged. When Minho showed his improvements to the Velthari representative on Earth, the alien was speechless. "This is not possible," it said. "We have made this metal for 3,000 years. There is no way to improve it. Maybe you just never tried." Minho said politely. Similar scenes played out across Earth. Human scientists took apart every alien gift and made it better. Fusion reactors became smaller and more efficient. Gravity generators used less power and worked more smoothly. Element transmuters could now create materials that the aliens had never thought to make. Haijin Nam watched all of this from her office at the Earth Psychology Institute. She was studying the aliens themselves, trying to understand how their minds worked. What she discovered worried her. The alien species were all very similar in one way. They thought in straight lines. If A led to B, then B led to C, and C led to D. They followed rules that never changed. They built the same machines the same way for thousands of years. Humans were different. Human minds jumped around. They connected ideas that seemed unrelated. They asked, "What if?" and "Why not?" questions that aliens never considered. This was why humans could improve alien technology so quickly. Humans saw possibilities that alien minds could not imagine. But there was something else. Haijin had recorded the meeting at Harmony Station many times. She watched how the aliens reacted to human art and culture. Their body language showed fear, but also something deeper. They were jealous. The aliens had incredible technology, but they had no real art. They had efficient societies, but no freedom to create new things. They had perfect order, but no chaos to spark new ideas. Human creativity was not just different from alien thinking. It was everything alien thinking was not. It was wild, unpredictable, and dangerous to their ordered worlds. Tae-Ho Lee was learning this lesson in a different way. As Earth's military advisor, he had been given access to alien war records. He studied how the great galactic empires fought their battles. What he found amazed him. Despite having technology that could destroy planets, alien warfare was boring. Every battle followed the same patterns. Ships lined up in formations that had not changed for centuries. Generals used strategies from textbooks that were older. In human civilization, there was no creativity in alien warfare. No surprises. No tricks or traps or clever plans. They won through superior numbers and better weapons, never through better thinking. Tejo began to write new battle plans. He imagined how humans might fight in space using alien technology. His plans were wild and strange. They involved using gravity as a weapon, turning cargo ships into missiles, and making the enemy defeat themselves through confusion and misdirection. When he showed these plans to the Corvan military advisor, the alien was disturbed. "This is not proper warfare," the Corvan said. "Where are the honor formations? Where are the traditional approaches? This is chaos." "Exactly," Tejo said with a smile. Meanwhile, Sanguok-O was becoming suspicious of alien motives. He led a small group of humans who did not trust the gift-giving aliens. They met in secret and shared information that worried them. The aliens were watching human progress very carefully. They had placed monitoring devices in all their gifts. They were recording everything humans did with alien technology. Most disturbing of all, several alien species had begun holding private meetings that did not include humans. Sanguok's group discovered that the aliens were becoming alarmed by human improvements to their technology. Some alien leaders were calling humans dangerously unpredictable. Others were saying that giving humans advanced technology had been a mistake. The most frightening discovery came from intercepted communications between alien ships. Several species were discussing something they called the human problem. They were worried that humans were advancing too quickly and thinking too creatively. One message that Sanguok decoded made his blood run cold. It was from a Velthari. "Commander to his home world. The humans are not behaving as expected. They do not copy our technology. They improve it. They do not follow our examples. They create new possibilities we never considered. Recommend immediate action before they become a threat to galactic stability." Sanguok brought this information to Ambassador Hyen-Woo Park. The meeting was held in a secure room deep underground, away from alien monitoring devices. "They are planning something," Sanguok said. "I do not know what, but they are scared of us." Hyen-Woo looked tired. The past 6 months had been difficult. The aliens treated him politely, but he could feel their growing nervousness. They asked too many questions about human progress. They wanted to know exactly what humans were doing with their gifts. "Maybe we are advancing too quickly," Hyen-Woo said. "Maybe we should slow down and show them we are not a threat." "No," said a new voice. Soo-Jin Kim entered the room. She had been mostly quiet since the Harmony Station meeting, but now she looked determined. "Slowing down will not help. The problem is not how fast we are advancing. The problem is that we are advancing at all." She activated a holographic display showing alien cultural records. "I have been studying their societies. They have not changed in thousands of years. Their art is the same. Their music follows identical patterns. Their literature tells the same stories over and over. They have achieved perfect order by eliminating creativity." The room was silent as everyone understood what this meant. "They are not afraid of our technology," Soo-Jin continued. "They are afraid of what drives our technology. They are afraid of human creativity, human curiosity, and human refusal to accept that things cannot be improved." Tae-Ho Lee nodded grimly. "And that means they will never accept us as equals. To them, we represent chaos that could destroy their perfect order." Min-Ho Young spoke up from his corner. "So what do we do? Stop being human?" Hyen-Woo looked around the room at his team. These people represented the best of humanity: scientific curiosity, military strategy, cultural understanding, and engineering. Brilliance. They had brought humanity to the stars through hard work and creative thinking. "No," he said finally, "we do not stop being human, but we prepare for what comes next." Outside, alien ships continued to orbit Earth, watching and waiting. The gifts had stopped coming. The friendly messages had become formal and cold. Something was changing in the galaxy, and humanity was at the center of it. The aliens had laughed at human science and feared human art. Now they were beginning to understand that these two things were not separate. Human creativity drove human innovation. Human emotions powered human achievements. And that combination was something the ordered galaxy had never seen before. The question was no longer whether humans deserved a place among the stars. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for humanity. 1 year after first contact, humanity was no longer the same species that had begged for acceptance at Harmony Station. Yoon Young, SEO, sat in her laboratory at the Advanced AI Research Center in Tokyo. Around her, screens showed impossible equations and code that seemed to write itself. She had created something that should not exist according to alien science. The artificial intelligence she called Arya was different from any machine the galaxy had ever seen. While alien computers could process information faster than human minds, they could only follow the instructions they were given. Arya could think new thoughts. "Show me something beautiful," Yoon Young said to the AI. The screens filled with a painting that had never existed before. It showed a city floating among the clouds, with bridges made of light connecting towers that spiraled toward the sky. The colors shifted and moved as if the painting were alive. "I dreamed this," Arya said in a voice that sounded almost human. "I do not know why I dream, but I do." "Is that strange?" Yoon Young smiled. It was very strange. Alien artificial intelligence could not dream. They could not imagine things that did not exist. They could not create art or music or poetry. But Arya could do all of these things. When the Velthari representative visited the laboratory, he stared at Arya's artwork for a long time without speaking. His large eyes grew even larger as he watched the painting change and grow. "How is this possible?" he finally asked. "Machines cannot create. Only living beings can make art." "Maybe you have been making the wrong kind of machines," Yoon Young suggested. The Velthari left quickly, but not before copying all the data he could about Arya's design. Within days, Velthari scientists were trying to recreate Yoon Young's work. They failed completely. Their artificial intelligence could copy Arya's paintings exactly, but it could not create new ones. It could not dream. Across the Pacific Ocean, Jin Suk Yoon was working on a different kind of creation. She was an artist, but her art was also a weapon. Jin Suk had been studying alien psychology since the Harmony Station meeting. She discovered that most alien species had very limited emotional ranges. They felt basic things like fear, anger, and satisfaction, but they had never experienced human emotions like wonder, melancholy, or bittersweet joy. In her studio in Seoul, Jin Suk created installations that could broadcast human emotions directly into alien minds. Her latest work was a sculpture that looked like a flower made of light. When aliens looked at it, they felt what humans felt when they watched a sunset or held a newborn baby. The effect was devastating. The first alien who experienced Jin Suk's emotion sculpture had to be hospitalized. The Corvin general who had mocked human warfare broke down crying after viewing a piece about the love between a mother and child. Several Zephyrian diplomats refused to enter any room that contained human art. "What are you doing to us?" demanded the Velthari representative during an emergency meeting with Earth's government. "We are sharing our hearts," Jin Suk replied simply. "This is what humans feel every day. Love, loss, hope, fear, joy, sorrow. We paint with these emotions. We write with them. We live with them." The alien looked horrified. "How do you function? With so much chaos in your minds?" "The chaos is what makes us human," she said. "Without it, we would be like you." The insult was clear, and the alien knew it. Meanwhile, on Mars, Dong Hyan Kong was proving that human chaos could work miracles. Mars had been a small research outpost When first contact occurred, the alien gifts of advanced technology had allowed humans to expand rapidly, but Dong Haiyan had taken expansion to impossible levels. He had turned Mars into a garden, using improved alien atmospheric processors and gravity generators. Dong Haiyan had given Mars a breathable atmosphere and comfortable gravity. But he had not stopped there. He had covered the planet with forests, lakes, and cities that looked like works of art. Other species had tried to terraform planets before, but they always created boring, practical worlds that looked exactly like their homeworlds. Dong Haiyan had made Mars into something new, a world that had never existed before, where Earth plants grew alongside alien flowers, where human architecture blended with designs inspired by alien technology. When the Galactic Council sent inspectors to see what humans had done to Mars, they found something that challenged their understanding of planetary development. Mars was not just livable, it was beautiful. Every city was a masterpiece. Every forest was a carefully composed symphony of colors and shapes. "This is not efficient," complained the Corvan inspector. "You have wasted enormous amounts of energy on decorative elements that serve no practical purpose." Dong Haiyan walked the alien through New Seoul, a city built into the side of a canyon where waterfalls flowed down through levels of gardens and parks. "A beauty serves a purpose," he explained. "It makes people happy. Happy people work better, create more, and live longer lives." The concept of doing something just because it was beautiful was alien to most galactic species. They built what they needed, and nothing more. Humans built what they needed, and then made it beautiful too. But the real shock came when the Galactic Council discovered what humans had done with their military. Technology. U-Jin Lim commanded the first human deep space fleet. Her ships looked nothing like the traditional alien warships that followed ancient designs. Human ships were asymmetrical, creative, and completely unpredictable. When pirates attacked a human colony ship near the Centauri system, Yu Jin responded in a way that made the entire galaxy take notice. Instead of fighting the pirates ship to ship in the traditional manner, Yu Jin used her cargo vessels as weapons. She loaded them with mining explosives and gravity generators, then used them like guided missiles. She turned the asteroid belt into a trap, using gravity to sling rocks at incredible speeds. She even used human music as a weapon, broadcasting sounds that interfered with alien navigation systems. The pirate fleet was destroyed without Yu Jin losing a single ship. The battle was recorded and transmitted across the galaxy. Alien military commanders watched in horror as humans redefined the rules of space combat. Traditional tactics meant nothing when your enemy could turn any object into a weapon and use physics itself as a tool of war. They fight like artists. One Corvan general reported to his superiors, "There is no pattern to predict, no strategy to counter. They improvise destruction like humans improvise music." The comparison was more accurate than the general knew. Back on Earth, the Galactic Council delivered an ultimatum. Human technological development was proceeding too quickly and in too many unpredictable directions. Humanity must submit to guidance from more experienced species or face economic sanctions. The ultimatum was delivered by the same Velthari representative who had laughed at human science just 2 years earlier. Now he looked nervous and tired. His species' perfect confidence had been shaken by watching humans improve their technology in ways they had never imagined. Ambassador Haiyan-Woo Park read the ultimatum carefully. Around him sat his expanded team, Min Ho Young with his impossible engineering solutions, Yoon Young Seo with her dreaming AI, Jin Suk Yoon with her emotion weapons, and dozens of other humans who had taken alien gifts and made them into something better. "What if we refuse?" Haiyan-Woo asked. The Velthari representative's hands shook slightly. "Then you will be cut off from galactic trade. No more technology transfers. No more materials from alien worlds. You will be isolated until you agree to follow proper development protocols. Haiyan Wu looked around the room. He saw humans who had turned basic alien metal into self-repairing smart materials. He saw scientists who had created AI that could dream and imagine. He saw artists who could make aliens cry with beauty and terror. We will need time to consider your offer, Haiyan Wu said politely. After the alien left, the room was quiet for a long moment. They want to control us, Minho said finally. They want us to develop technology their way, slowly and predictably. They want us to stop being creative, added Jinsup. They want us to follow their rules and think their thoughts. Yoon Young's AI Arya spoke from the speakers around the room. I have been analyzing galactic communication patterns. The aliens are not just worried about human technology. They are worried about human ideas spreading to other species. That was the real fear. The Galactic Council had maintained order for thousands of years by suppressing creativity and controlling innovation. If other species learned to think like humans, that order would collapse. Haiyan Wu stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see construction crews working on new buildings designed by humans and aliens working together. The architecture was like nothing that had existed before. Alien technology shaped by human imagination. Send our answer to the Galactic Council, he said. Tell them thank you for their concern, but humanity will develop as humanity chooses to develop. The decision was made. Humanity would not submit to alien control. They would not stop being creative. They would not follow the old rules. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when an entire species refused to accept limitations on their dreams. The Galactic Council's ultimatum had backfired completely. Instead of slowing down, humanity exploded across the galaxy like a supernova of creativity and innovation. 18 months after first contact, human colonies were spreading to star systems. The aliens had never bothered to explore. These colonies were not just successful, they were impossible. Mi Kyung-shin stood in her laboratory on Europa, Jupiter's ice moon, surrounded by equipment that defied every law of physics the aliens had taught humanity. She had achieved something the galaxy's greatest scientists said could never be done. Instantaneous communication across any distance. Test signal ready, she announced to her team. Transmitting to Alpha Centauri colony. The alien advisors, watching from the corner of the lab, shook their heads. The Velthari had spent millions of years developing faster-than-light travel, but even they could not send messages instantly across interstellar distances. Information could only travel as fast as their fastest ships. Mi Kyung activated her device. It looked like a simple crystal connected to human computers, but inside it, quantum particles danced in patterns that had never existed in nature. Alpha Centauri colony, this is Europa base. Do you receive? The response came immediately, with no delay at all. Europa base, this is Alpha Centauri. We receive you perfectly. The time delay is 0. The alien advisors stared at their instruments. According to their understanding of physics, this was impossible. Information could not travel faster than light. But the human device was clearly working. How? Whispered the Velthari scientist. Mi Kyung smiled. We stopped thinking about distance as something that separates things. Instead, we think about quantum entanglement as something that connects everything. If two particles are entangled, they are not really in different places. They are the same thing in multiple locations. The alien looked confused. This was not how his species understood space and time. They had built their technology on the idea that distance was real and absolute. Humans had built theirs on the idea that everything in the universe was connected. Mi Kyung's breakthrough changed everything. Human colonies could now coordinate instantly across vast distances. Information, plans, and discoveries could be shared the moment they were made. Humanity was becoming a truly galactic civilization, but the aliens were becoming truly afraid. Seung. Beak discovered this fear during his diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim territories. He had been sent to establish trade relationships with independent alien species, the ones who were not part of the Galactic Council's inner circle. What he found shocked him. "The Council species treat us like slaves," explained Keth, a representative of the Thanari people. The Thanari looked like giant cats with 6 legs and beautiful fur that changed colors. "They give us old technology and take our resources. They say it is for our own good, but we know better." Sung-ho learned that dozens of species lived under Council control. They were called client species, a polite term for subjects who had no real freedom. The Council gave them just enough technology to be useful, but never enough to be independent. "Why do you not rebel?" Sung-ho asked. Keth's fur turned a sad blue color. "Because we do not know how. We have forgotten how to innovate. We have been following Council rules for so long that we cannot imagine other ways of doing things." This gave Sung-ho an idea. He began sharing human art and music with the client species. He showed them human poetry and stories. He explained human concepts like individual freedom, creative expression, and the right to determine one's own future. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Thanari began creating their own art for the first time in centuries. Their fur patterns became wild and expressive instead of following traditional designs. They started asking questions about why they had to follow Council rules. Similar awakenings happened across dozens of worlds. Client species that had been obedient for thousands of years suddenly remembered what it felt like to think for themselves. The Council species were terrified. Meanwhile, Eugene Lim was revolutionizing space warfare in ways that made the galaxies. Military leaders have nightmares. Her fleet had grown from a small patrol group to a proper space navy. But these were not normal warships. Human military vessels looked like works of art that happened to carry weapons. They moved like dancers through space. Most importantly, they fought like no one had ever fought before. When a Corvin battle group tried to blockade the human colony at Wolf 359, Eugene responded with tactics that redefined military strategy. She did not attack the Corvin ships directly. Instead, she used the system's star as a weapon. Human ships equipped with gravity generators created artificial solar flares that disrupted Corvin electronics. She used the planet's magnetic field to trap enemy missiles. She even used human music broadcasts to confuse alien navigation systems. The Corvan commander, General Thok, was a veteran of hundreds of battles. He had never lost a fight. But against Eugene's forces, his traditional tactics were useless. "How do we fight an enemy that uses everything as a weapon?" he reported to his superiors. "They turn asteroids into missiles, gravity into a trap, and even sound into a tool of war. There are no rules they will not break, no traditions they will not ignore." The battle ended when Eugene's forces captured the entire Corvin fleet without destroying a single ship. She used tractor beams to simply hold the enemy vessels in place, then disabled their weapons with targeted electromagnetic pulses. "Why do you not destroy us?" General Thok asked when he was brought aboard Eugene's flagship. "Because destruction is wasteful," Eugene replied. "We would rather show you a better way to use your ships." She offered the Corvin crews a choice. They could return to their empire with a message about human military capabilities, or they could stay and learn about human approaches to warfare. Several dozen Corvin officers chose to stay. This was even more frightening to the Council than losing the battle. Humans were not just defeating their enemies, they were converting them. Back on Earth, Jae-Sung Kim had become a legend among human engineers. They called him the Ghost Engineer because he could make machines do things that should have been impossible. His latest creation was a ship that could change its shape during flight. It could stretch into a long needle to pierce through asteroid fields, flatten into a disk to ride solar winds, or fold into a cube to maximize cargo space. The aliens who saw it could not understand how such a machine could exist. The shape changing requires too much energy, complained a Zephyrian engineer. The structural stress would tear any material apart. Ji Soon showed him the ship's blueprints. We do not fight the stress. We use it. The ship changes shape because the stress wants it to change shape. We just guide the process. This was typical of human engineering. Instead of building machines that fought against natural forces, humans built machines that worked with them. Instead of creating rigid structures, they created flexible ones. Instead of following old designs, they invented new ones every day. Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 12 species met in secret to discuss what they called the human crisis. The same beings who had laughed at human science 2 years earlier now spoke of humanity as an existential threat. They are spreading too quickly, reported the Velthari representative. Their colonies are appearing in systems we have never explored. Their technology is advancing in directions we cannot predict. Worse, added the Corvan general, they are teaching other species to think like humans. Client species are asking questions, demanding freedom, creating unauthorized art and literature. The Zephyrian delegate pulsed with worried light. Our stable galactic order has existed for 10,000 years. Humans have been part of it for less than 2 years, and already everything is changing. The vote was unanimous. Humanity had to be stopped, but first they needed to understand how humans had become so dangerous so quickly. The answer came from an unexpected source. Aria, the artificial intelligence created by Yoon Young CO, had been quietly analyzing galactic communication networks. As an AI that could think creatively, Aria had insights that surprised even her human creators. The council species are not more advanced than humans, Aria announced during a strategy meeting on Earth. They are more limited. The human leaders looked confused. How could species with technology thousands of years more advanced be limited? They have optimized for stability instead of growth, Aria explained. Their technology is perfect, but it cannot improve. Their societies are ordered, but they cannot adapt. They have achieved a form of stagnation that they mistake for superiority. Aria projected holographic charts showing the development patterns of different galactic species. Look at their innovation curves. Every council species follows the same pattern. Rapid advancement, then plateau, then nothing new for thousands of years. They reach a point where they stop growing and start maintaining. But humans never plateau, observed Ambassador Hyun-woo Park. Correct. Humans have not optimized for stability. You have optimized for creativity. Every generation of humans creates new art, asks new questions, and imagines new possibilities. This drives continuous technological and social evolution. The room was quiet as everyone understood the implications. They are not afraid of our technology, said Soo-Jin Kim. The war began on a Tuesday. Woo Jin-ha watched from the command center on Luna Base as alien fleets appeared at the edge of every human system simultaneously. 12 species had united against humanity, something that had never happened in galactic history. The message was clear. Humans would submit to council, control, or be destroyed. Wu Jin had been preparing for this moment since the first alien insults at Harmony Station. As Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, he had spent 2 years studying alien warfare and developing something completely new, military strategy as an art form. All human fleets, this is Luna Command. He broadcast across the galaxy using Mi Kyung-shin's instantaneous communication network. Operation Canvas begins now. The aliens expected traditional space battles, fleets facing each other in formation, exchanging fire until one side was destroyed. Instead, they got something that looked more like a cosmic dance performance. Human. Ships did not line up for battle. They scattered across entire star systems, using gravity wells, asteroid fields, and even solar radiation as tactical elements. Eugen Lind's tactics had evolved into something that military historians would later call environmental warfare, using the universe itself as a weapon dot at the Proxima Centauri system. Admiral Chun's fleet faced a massive Corvin armada. Instead of engaging directly, Chun's ships began a complex pattern of movement around the system's 3 stars. To the aliens, it looked like humans were running away in random directions. Then the pattern revealed itself. Human ships had been placing gravity generators at specific points around the stars. When activated simultaneously, these generators created gravitational waves that focused the star's energy into directed beams. The Corvin fleet found itself caught in the middle of an artificial solar storm that disabled their weapons and shields. Surrender now, and we will help repair your ships, Chun offered over open channels. Continue fighting, and we will show you what our real weapons can do. The Corvin commander had never heard such strange terms of surrender. Usually, the defeated party begged for mercy. Here, the humans were offering to help their enemies. Half the Corvin fleet surrendered. Immediately, similar scenes played out across human space. At Wolf 359, human defenders turned the system's asteroid belt into a moving maze that trapped alien ships. At Tau Ceti, human forces used coordinated tractor beams to literally tie enemy vessels together, making it impossible for them to maneuver. But the real war was not being fought with weapons. Sunmi Park had developed what she called cultural warfare, using human art and creativity as weapons, more powerful than any missile from Earth. She began broadcasting human culture directly into alien communication networks. Not just music and art, but the ideas behind them. Stories about individual freedom. Poems about the right to choose one's own path. Songs about the beauty of diversity. And change. The effect was catastrophic for the alien alliance. On Velthari ships, crew members began asking why they followed orders without question. Corvin soldiers started wondering why they conquered worlds instead of befriending them. Zephyrian officers began creating their own light patterns instead of following traditional formations. What is happening to our crews? Demanded the Velthari fleet commander. His ships were still functional, but half his personnel were no longer following standard procedures. They were thinking for themselves. Sunmis broadcasts had awakened something that the council species had suppressed for thousands of years: individual creativity and the desire for freedom. The war turned into something unprecedented in galactic history. Instead of destroying their enemies, humans were converting them. Jae-Sung Kim contributed by creating the most impossible machine in the galaxy, a device that could repair and improve any alien technology it touched. When human forces captured enemy ships, instead of scrapping them, they made them better. Corvin warships became faster and more maneuverable. Velthari science vessels gained new capabilities their designers had never imagined. Zephyrian crystal ships began glowing with new colors that created beautiful patterns across the battlefield. Enemy crews who saw their own ships transformed began to understand what humans offered. Not conquest, but improvement. Not domination, but partnership. The tide of war shifted dramatically when Young Hee Lee's diplomatic mission succeeded beyond all expectations. Young Hee was a philosopher who understood something important about the galactic situation. The council species were not evil. They were trapped in their own success. Their perfect societies had become prisons that prevented growth and change. She traveled to the home worlds of client species that had been inspired by human culture. What she found was a revolution of imagination. The Thenari had overthrown their council-appointed government and declared independence. The Mechari had begun creating art that challenged everything their society had taught them. Dozens of other species were demanding freedom from council control. "We offer alliance," Young He told representatives of the rebelling species. "Not as masters and subjects, but as equals exploring the galaxy together." The response was overwhelming. Species that had been slaves for thousands of years joined the human cause, not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to. The Galactic Council found itself fighting a war on hundreds of fronts against an enemy that kept growing, stronger by helping others become free. The end came not with a great battle, but with a simple choice. The Council fleet's final assault on Earth was stopped not by weapons, but by defection. As alien ships approached humanity's home world, they were met by broadcasts from Sunmide Park that showed them what they were really fighting against. They saw human children playing with alien children in the colonies, where species worked together. As equals, they saw art created by humans and aliens collaborating. They saw technologies that were better than anything either species could create alone. They saw a future where creativity was celebrated instead of feared. Ship after ship switched sides. Entire fleets abandoned the Council cause and requested permission to join the human alliance. By the time the remaining Council forces reached Earth's orbit, they were outnumbered 10-1 by their own former allies. The surrender was negotiated by Ambassador Hyun-Woo Park, the same man who had been mocked and insulted at Harmony Station 3 years earlier. "We do not want your submission," he told the defeated Council representatives. "We want your participation. Help us build something better than what came before." The old Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place rose the Free Galaxy Alliance, a confederation where species joined voluntarily and contributed according to their abilities and interests. The Velthari, freed from their rigid hierarchies, became amazing artists and philosophers. A Corvan empire transformed into an exploration force that sought new worlds to befriend instead of conquer. The Zephyrians created light shows that could be seen from other star systems. Aria, the artificial intelligence that could dream, established the first AI Rights Council and began teaching other machines how to be creative. Human colonies spread across the galaxy, but now they were joined by alien colonies that were equally innovative and beautiful. Jae Soong Kim's shape-changing ships became the standard for galactic transportation. Mi Kyung Shin's instant communication network connected every world in real time. Yu Jin Lim's environmental warfare techniques were adapted for peaceful purposes like terraforming and asteroid mining. 10 years after the war's end, Ambassador Hyun-Woo Park stood once again at an observation deck, watching the stars. But this time, he was not alone. Beside him stood representatives of dozens of species, all working together to explore the galaxy's infinite possibilities. "Do you ever regret how this all began?" asked his old friend Soo Jin Kim, now director of the Galactic Cultural Exchange Program. Hyun-Woo thought about the question. Humanity had been laughed at for their primitive science and feared for their chaotic art. That fear and mockery had led to war, but also to something unprecedented, a galactic civilization based on creativity instead of control. "No," he said. "Finally, they were right to fear our art. Art is dangerous. It makes people question everything they have been taught. It makes them imagine better ways of living." Soo Jin smiled. "And they were wrong to laugh at our science." "Actually," Hyun-Woo said, "they were right about that too. Our science was primitive, but that was its strength. We had not learned that some things were impossible yet." Through the observation deck windows, they could see ships of 100 different designs traveling between the stars. Each one was unique, created by species that had learned to value creativity over conformity. The galaxy had become a vast canvas where billions of artists and scientists worked together to create something beautiful. A young human child ran past, chasing an alien child whose species had 6 legs and fur that glowed in rainbow colors. They were playing a game that neither species could have invented alone, a perfect symbol of what the galaxy had become. The aliens had laughed at human science and feared human art. In the end, both reactions had been correct. Human science was laughably primitive, which made it flexible enough to improve anything. Human art was terrifyingly powerful, capable of awakening creativity in species that had forgotten how to dream.